stream ready to talk about the smarter prospecting playbook for LinkedIn. I'm going to be talking all of this tonight. We're just waiting for all of the audio to kick in and then we'll kick start. So bear with me whilst I just check everything's working as planned. We are live and it's all functioning. Looks like it is. So here we go. Welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about how do you stay consistent with your prospecting on LinkedIn? What are some of the critical, absolutely critical things you need to do so that you get those opportunities? Let's be honest, we're not on social media and LinkedIn for the fun of it. We're on it to actually make money. And so I want to show you the simplest path and way to get to that result. And if you're joining me, whether it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, God knows wherever else, drop me a message to let me know that you're here and I can see you. That would be awesome. I have got some not slides per se, but I have got some stuff to show you and process that makes it more tangible, more takeaway. So please do stick around for that because we're going to get into it. So we're here. It's all working. It looks like the stream's functioning and doing its proper job. So let's get into it. So the kind of outline I set up for tonight's live was basically how do you get the best bang for every minute you put on LinkedIn? And how do you get the leads out? How do you get the clients out? And all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, first of all, a simple processing process that you can follow that leverages the power of relationship on LinkedIn to actually get conversations and meetings booked. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to show you how you can implement that in a simple day-to-day activity so that nothing gets missed. It's not overwhelming. You're not burying your head in spreadsheets, and show you how I do it. And I'm going to build the whole process live. So I'm slightly nervous because I've got to build it all live. And sometimes I need to process things. There'll be no time to process. So I think the biggest time waster on LinkedIn, and I'm just going to be honest here, and if somebody from LinkedIn's watching, I don't care. LinkedIn as a platform is designed to help people waste their time. It's a social media platform. It might be a business platform, it might be a professional network, but LinkedIn's business model is contingent. Its success is contingent on people not just going on, but staying on the platform. And so they will invest millions in all sorts of stuff so that when we log into LinkedIn, we stay on there. And we stay on there in a way that basically doesn't necessarily... It's echoing. Oh, let me see if I can fix the echo. I haven't got echo cancellation on. Let me just check here. No speakers. I can't see where the echo's coming from. Maybe we'll see where we get to. So what we need to do is basically prevent. Maybe I'll move the microphone up a little bit. Prevent this whole situation where you log into the platform and you end up going down a rabbit hole of doing things that you are not very important or doing the wrong things. You know, as much as I'm sure you're smart human beings, I'm a smart human being, we end up in a situation where we get sucked into content and all this other stuff that is a distraction from us bluntly having conversations. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to achieve. Pretty much nothing else. That's what matters. That's where success is here. So if we want to get those results, we just have to focus on that. Now, at the same time, I'm also going to say outreach on LinkedIn has got a lot more difficult. Outreach on LinkedIn is not as easy and as simple as it used to be, because there is so much crap going on the platform, so much poor targeting, so much spray and pray outreach, that you have to be far more creative when it comes to outreach now than you've ever been before. 8 years ago, I could go on LinkedIn and message people, copy and paste message people, and I'd get good quality replies, good numbers. Now, that doesn't work. That really doesn't work. So we have to have a plan to take people on a journey, as you know, somebody in sales might call it as brutal as warm people up, but build a bit of digital rapport. You're not going to be best mates with people on LinkedIn if you're on there to sell. You might pick up some good contacts that turn into mates and friends and good strong relationships. But when you're outreaching, you can't actually invest huge amounts of time in people unless there is significant returns. If you're going to sell something for £1,000, can you really invest an hour, 2 hours in that prospect? Probably not, because the profit margin just wouldn't support it. But if you're selling something for 100K, 200K, 300K, it's worth the investment. And I'll give you an example of this. I've got a client I've been working with for 5 years from LinkedIn. I invested 4 years in getting that client. 4 years. To date, they've spent nearly £700,000 with me. Right? So it's worth the investment. So you have to plan your actions on LinkedIn by how much they're worth. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people making on LinkedIn is high value opportunities, but the approach treats them like £1,000 opportunities. They automate, they template, they pummel it out as if they're selling 50 quid things or 1,000 quid things. Now, I get it. If you're selling really, really low value stuff, you know, a tenner, 20 quid, $30, $50, you have to kind of play a volume game. But for most people, they're not playing a volume game. They're trying to get the best quality leads out of the platform in the most efficient process. And by efficient, I don't just mean the easiest. I mean the one that gets the best time and return. In other words, if I put an hour in, I'm going to get a decent return. Not if I put 30 minutes in, I might get one lead. I mean, what gets you the sweet spot between effort and automation. So I'm not going to talk about automation tonight because I'm going to assume that all of you are in that kind of bracket where it's like, it's actually worth spending a bit of time on a prospect. And believe me, considering how many people on LinkedIn, this is a big mindset shift if you think about this. The average person will get generic outreach, maybe 5 per day. 5 generic copy and paste template sales pitches. And we can spot them, by the way. We can spot them. So the differentiator, one of the differentiators that makes you different to all of the other messages that go through is not the message that you send. It's what you did before the message you sent. What did you do to make people take notice of you? And that isn't a long process. One of the advantages of social media is it can't be a massive, or it doesn't need to be a massively long process. But if somebody recognizes your name, they are 3 times more likely to read your message on LinkedIn or email. So if they know your name, they are more likely to open your message. That is the majority of the battle on LinkedIn, is getting people to actually look at your messages. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you a process I use that you can customize, and then how I manage that process in the day-to-day. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this. I'm going to share my screen, and I've got my LinkedIn up here so I can answer any questions as we go if you want to ask them. Ernie, I'm sorry if my echo's still here. I've moved my microphone. It could just be a LinkedIn thing, but I can't see what else it could be, but hopefully we're okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I'll come to those as we go, but let me just share my screen and show you. So let me just walk you through this. It should show up on your screen now. So this is what we call social engagement. So social engagement is basically the equivalent of building rapport first. Most of the time in social selling, you have to do the rapport building first. In cold calling, you make the call and try and do it on the call. In in a conversation, networking, you do the work beforehand to build the relationship. Social selling is very much like networking in real life, meeting people in real life. If you think about it like that, you will be very successful. If you think about it like cold calling on the internet, a social media version of a cold call, you will be very unsuccessful. It's not the same. So this is a 15-day process. Now you can mix and match how you do this, but this is one that I do. So I'll walk you through it, and then I'll show you how to manage it. So this is based on the principle of reciprocity. People give time and give attention and notice people who've been generous first. And you may misunderstand this, or you may not realize how impactful this could be, because it doesn't seem like, oh, wow, it's world changing. But the world changing part of this is that people buy from people they know, they like, they trust. And this is a simple way to do it. So obviously, we've got to connect with people. So we've got to send a connection request to people. If we're not sending connection requests, let me just say to you, in mails, horrendously unsuccessful. They're not very good at all. And the other thing that you need to factor in here is it doesn't matter how you do outreach, whether it be email, calls, LinkedIn, there are going to be a number of steps to get a positive response. Just like you might ring somebody, I think it's somewhere between 8 and 15 times, email something like 8 to 11 times. LinkedIn's about that 8 times to get a good conversation and get it off LinkedIn. So as I go, I'm going to walk you the process. I'm going to give you some quick tips. So get a notepad and pen ready. I'm going to give you some quick tips as we go through this process that are not noted down anywhere. So number one, we need to connect. So if we connect, we can message them back and forth. They're more likely to see our content. So there's way more stuff we can do if we're connected. So if you want to connect in the most successful way, you want to follow what I call LCC, like, comment, and then immediately connect. Like, comment, immediately connect. Now that's not possible with every prospect. So some you might just have to send a connection request. Another quick tip on this, connection messages are out. They are no longer as popular, they're no longer as successful unless you have something not just personalized, but unique to them to say. So connection messages, they used to be good etiquette to send a connection note, but because so many people get generic ones, and now because LinkedIn hide them, they're not as important. So best practice, like, comment, connect. So then there's a delay. Yeah, they might take a day to accept. They might accept the same day. They might take a week. So this is where your process gets a bit sketchy because you don't know when you're waiting for them. So you want to be connecting with people regularly. Don't just go, I'm going to go after that one prospect and connect with that one prospect. That's madness. You're going to be growing your network with prospects. And as they come through, and this accept period could be as long as your arm. Yeah, as long as a piece of string. But when they do, you're not going to sell. You're going to do a quirky thank you for connecting. Now, I'll tell you about some other things you can do in this thank you note. But the first reason I want to say quirky is because we are fed up of thanks for connecting, hope you are well, or great to be connected, look forward to seeing your content, right? Say something that doesn't sound like they've heard it a million times before. So I found that the more slightly unusual an angle, the more responses I get. So often in my connection note, I talk about sorry about the wild shirts. Bearing in mind it's February here in the UK and I am wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I do it because it's something quirky, it's something conversational. I think you should enjoy LinkedIn. Yes, be professional. Yes, make money. Yes, treat it with professionalism. But you need to enjoy what you're doing. And so this symbolizes enjoying what I'm doing. So I use that as an anchor, a quirky little thank you note, and it gets me lots of conversations off the back of it. People saying, I love wild shirts. I'm sick of the boring corporate stuff. So I get lots of conversations. So I'll have that conversation and I will not try and draw it out. I'll not try and twist it. I'll not try and to make it into something else, because one of the powerful bits that a lot of people don't get is when they get somebody talking, they expect that this whole conversation will just go somewhere so fast and they'll be talking about sales in hours or minutes. That's the inbuilt perception. But actually the power in this process is in stopping the conversation. And people go, what? Just having a nice conversation with somebody at a thank you stage and stopping is so powerful, because you've given them one positive experience. Now, I've seen people do what's called the twist, where it's like, thanks for connecting. And then they'll try and chit chat people and then turn it into a business conversation. It's totally disingenuous, but also people see through it. And when they realize that you're being nice to them just to pitch them in that way, guess what? They completely devalue what you've said. They don't believe it. You're just, full of crap. Now, you might say, well, Dean, if you did this process to me, I would see it for what it is. Yes, but people see that you're making the effort. And also, a lot of social media activity doesn't stick. We don't remember it. So the balance of breaking this up over multiple days and doing some things just to build rapport before we transition to what we want to do gets way more responses, because we're investing in the person. And there's a little bit of obligation. There's a little bit of reciprocity. And there's a little bit of, well, they've made a good effort here and they've been supporting me and all that kind of stuff. So it does work. So we're leveraging psychology to get people to respond to us here. So then I'm going to wait a couple of days and I'm going to, if they're posting, engage with their content. Now, I've got a load of different options and I've got what I call a social selling canvas. So this is a planner to map out your process. I've got a canvas. I will give it to you. I don't need your email. Just drop me a DM and I will send you the canvas. And on the back of the canvas are loads of different ideas of what you can do in these boxes. But I'm going to go with these for today. So I'm not saying you have to engage with their content. I've just put that in because it's an easy one. There are a ton others. And if I showed you the others right now, we'd spend 20 minutes trying to explain them. So I put them on the back of the canvas. So in this scenario, I'm going to engage with their content 2 days later. I'm not just going to like it. Big mistake, by the way. Liking posts does not get you noticed. It does not build rapport. But a good quality comment, I don't mean War and Peace, but something that's not great post or insightful. I mean, something that starts a conversation. And, I've built a tool for that. You can message me about that, but that's not for today. So then I'm going to wait a couple of days. So I'm building up these interactions, right? Do I expect them to reply to every interaction? No, I'm doing it to be seen, to get my name noticed so that when I ask, when I outreach, they pay more attention. Now, I am going to show you how I manage this because people get this process. Most people go, I get the process. Dean, I'm already in. Get to the next phase. I just want to cover it simply. Where people fall over is, how do I put this into a daily routine? That's where they struggle. And I'm going to show you that too. So I'm going to do this engage with content. I'm building up this relationship. And then I'm going to do, in this scenario, what I call a soft sell article or a piece of wow content. Now, if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, you should, because I tell you about soft sell articles and wow posts and their ability to generate leads for you, inbound leads. But you have to start using them and producing them. You don't need millions of them. You might need 2 or 3 good ones, and you can just reuse them. So one is an article that is actually speaking to the pain point of your target audience. The other is what we call a wow post, which is actually telling the story. It's not quite a case study. It's more the story of a client, and you're using that as an asset to actually get a conversation. So we do that, share it with them, and say, let me know what you think. Now, some people will have a look and say, oh, I'll take a look. And you can, a couple of days' time, did you get a look? What did you think? Anything resonate there? Ask them questions. You can spark conversation and move somewhere. But we're not going to stop there. Then we're going to give them a break of a couple of days. Maybe engage with their content again, or use one of the other actions on the canvas. And then we're going to ask. Now, this ask piece is really important. Now, most people, when they outreach, they forget what they're selling. On LinkedIn, you're not selling your business. You're not selling your services. You're not selling your products. All you are selling is the value of a conversation. That's it. The more you waffle on in outreach messages, the more you use jargon, the more you make it look like emails, the more you try and sell, the less successful you will be. The best ask messages are the ones that show they're relevant. You've done your homework. You speak to their pain point or the outcome that they want to achieve, and you offer a time to speak. The simpler, the better. If they resonate with the pain point, they'll consider it. If they resonate with the outcome, they'll consider it. Now, you have to just say, I'd love to show you more. I'll tell you a little bit more if this is something you're looking at. Keep it relaxed. You do not want people to feel like they're committing to a sale or becoming a prospect or a lead at that point. The more relaxed you make it, if they're the right person and you can get them on a call, you can strut your stuff, your selling stuff there. Your job is just to get them on a call. Yeah. There is no such thing as a sales qualified lead on LinkedIn. Never. Right? Doesn't happen. You can get a marketing qualified lead, somebody who's interested, but you don't know if they've got intent to buy. And then it's your job to talk to them, see where they're at, see if you can help them, and see if they're in a position to take the conversation further. There's no such thing as a sales ready lead on LinkedIn. It's get them off onto a conversation and see where it goes. But obviously the right people coming to the call for the right reasons, not just getting randoms on calls. Nonsense. So that's the process. Yeah. Now you can tweak the process. You can make it longer, shorter, whatever you choose. The key bit is it's leveraging relationship at the front end, and on the back end, you have to be highly relevant. If you're just sending generic nonsense to them, yeah, or copy and paste stuff, it's not going to work. Yeah, the copy and paste automated outreach on LinkedIn, the current success rate is 0.6%. For every 200 you outreach to, you will get 1 bite. Totally unsustainable. This you can get about 4, 5, 6%. 4, 5, 6%. That's a lot, right? In the marketing and sales world, that's great. Yeah. And you need to understand that, you're not going to have a 100% success rate with any process, even though instinctively we want it. So that's the process. How do I keep myself how do I run this process so I can be consistent, it doesn't become overwhelming? And let's think about it. If I'm connecting with a load of people here, I'm going to have people at all different stages all the way through. The last thing I want to be doing is trawling through a spreadsheet or trawling through, a massive complicated CRM where it takes me more time to find the prospects than it does to actually do the work. So what I'm going to do, and we built this, I'm going to show you how to do it. We built this because a lot of people were saying that their main CRM was way too complicated to do this stuff. And it was too much work. And it's little actions, lots of little actions. So what we did is we built a tool to help you do it. I'm going to show you how to do it now. So this is the process. And Goggle is a simple CRM just built for LinkedIn. So what I can do in Goggle, and you can see I've got a load of things going on here, and I've got a little task list here. I'm a little bit behind because of the weekend. But I can go onto the workflows here, and I can build that workflow. So I'll go in here and I'll go Dean's workflow for event. So I know what it's called. And then what I can do is I can put in that workflow. So you can put in different stages. So I'll just put it as getting a meeting phase, right? So that's my first phase, getting a meeting. Now what I can do is I can put in tasks based on this workflow here. So my first action is in the getting meeting phase, send connection request. Now don't worry, once you've done this, it's done forever. So you can put 1 million prospects through it if you want. And how many days after entering this stage? 0, same day. So I've saved that task, day 1. Next task, thank you note. Now, this one's a bit interesting because we don't know when this one's going to happen. So I'm going to assign it to myself. It's a 15-minute job, tops. And I'm going to have it set to a number of days after the last action. And I'm going to set it to 2 days. Now, of course, some of my prospects might take a week to come back, which means this task will go overdue. But we'll look at that in a moment. Oh, previous task from the connection request. So 2 days after, it's going to say, come on, Dean, send a thank you note. I'll go in, see they've not accepted yet, or they have, do the thank you note. Done. Right? Next, what's my next task? My next task is engage with their content. Okay, I'm going to put that in. Now, go with me here because I'm going to build it all in real time. And I can give you this afterwards if you want it so you can see it. Now, Goggle, you're going, oh, not another gadget. This is a 99 quid gadget forever. 99 quid gadget forever. I mean, really, it'll save you so much time. It's madness. But we're doing this to get it out there, get it, people using it, and then we can use that to actually scale it and get 10,000 people using it. So then I'm going to do the soft sell article 2 days later, and I'm going to run you through this process now in a second. So I'm going to do soft sell article. I can't spell. Yeah, so you see what I'm doing. I'm building that whole process for these people. I'm going to do it 2 days after I engage with their content. Save. There we go. So you can see I'm building this process, and I will build that whole process up. Yeah, all done. So that process is completely done. So I'm not going to build the whole process because we'll be here for ages whilst I'm doing it and you'll get bored. Yeah. So there it is. Let's assume I've put all of the workflows in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on James Hunt because I know him and he'll forgive me, hopefully. So he's my stepson's cousin. That's not him. Where has he gone? There he is. Send Shield. So this is James. Go and check out their company. Go and have a look at them as well. They're my cousin, my stepson's cousin. So go and look at them, buy all their stuff, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's say James is my prospect and I want to put him into that workflow. So I can now manage this whole situation. Now, of course, James and I are already connected, but maybe we're not. So I can click Goggle here and I can say, put James into my workflow for event, add. So James is in, right? He's gone into that workflow. I go into Goggle now. I'll just zoom in. Oh, and go, let me just tick off. There he is. James Hunt. I've got to send him a connection request today, right? So tick the box. I'm going to send the connection request. Go down here now. Oh, has James done his connect? Have I done the thank you note? Maybe James is away on holiday. He's not accepted me yet. So it will go overdue and it will sit there as a reminder to keep an eye on it, to check in, to see if I should send the thank you note. Dead simple, right? So now I come in and go, where's James up to? Oh, he's connected with me. Let me do a thank you note. I've done my thank you note. Next day, oh, engage with content. I need to engage with James. Tick. And so on and so forth. Oh, 2 days later, on the day it's due, oh, I do the article. And I end up where I build a process and say, I want to put 100 AWS architects through it. That's what James is, an Amazon Web Services architect. I want to put 100 AWS architects through it. I write my process, put it in Goggle, create the assets I need, and then I go through that process. And it's just a tick list. I've got all the bits ready to go, and I tick list it. And that gives me the flexibility of a system. It gives me the structure of a system, rather, but it gives me the flexibility to customize, and it's not automated. It's a really simple process. And in Goggle, I can build as many processes as I want. And every morning at 8 a.m., Goggle emails me to say, this is your list of stuff to do today, Dean. And because I've got prospects going through this all the time, I don't have this big chunk of stuff to do. I have 4 or 5 people today, 4 or 5 people tomorrow, 4 or 5 people tomorrow, and I'm just working the system. So I'm not thinking every time, what am I doing? I'm not trying to create new ideas of what to do. I've written a process for my 100 AWS architects, and I work it over and over and over again. And this is the simplest process you can possibly imagine. It's so simple. And then let's say, for an example, let's find James again. I get my meeting with James. Yeah, I could literally add him to another workflow. So I could literally add James to a main workflow, and I could move him to the next stage. So I've got my meeting booked. I could then move him to the next stage to start talking to him again. So I can build a prospecting phase up to the call, and a call and follow-up phase or proposal phase, and then a keep in contact phase, the works. And it's so simple. And I've got a couple of different workflows. I've obviously got the prospecting workflows, but there's people I've met on LinkedIn that maybe I want to keep in touch with, now's not the right time, or maybe there's nothing to, talk to them about right now, but I want to stay in touch. I want to stay in close contact. I could build a workflow for the next 12 months where I check in on them once a month. Maybe it's I engage with their content. Maybe I drop them a message once every 6 or 7 weeks. I could build a process for a year to keep somebody in my world and keep me in their world, even if there's nothing to do right now. Maybe there's some relationships I want to build for the long term, and I know that I forget who they are. I can program it all in. So I could have a workflow just to say, these are good people to stay in touch with. And there's, 2 actions a month for the next 12 months. I could do the prospecting phase. I could do these are all the people to come back to. These are all the people I've met at events. So you could basically organize your LinkedIn and create tasks to do it. And it's 99 quid forever. It's a no-brainer. But what you really need is a process like this. And of course, if any of you want the canvas or this map here, I'll happily share it with you. But this is critical to your success, right? Not just writing it down and going, this is what I'm going to do. Who are you going to do it to? With, for, at, what's the correct word? Who are you going to do it to? And if you want to simplify the process, do it to all the same people at the same time. So all AWS architects. Why? Because a lot of your structure, this stuff and this stuff and this stuff, will be very similar. If you try and do it randomly, this bit might not be relevant. You might have to craft a slightly different message. Now, if that's good with you and you want to adjust it and tweak it as you go, that's fine. But what I've found is I could go this week, or for the next 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks, I am just working on business owners in the tech sector. And I'll work that list. And then in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks time, I'm going to now work on business coaches business coaches into solopreneur business coaches. I can work that process. That's the beauty of a streamlined process. It's not just robo pitching people. If you're trying to sell anything above $2,000, robo pitching people is not the way to go. There's a lot of benefits of automation, but robo pitching is probably not it. So you build a process, you map the audience you want to use it, create the assets, use my canvas because it will help you. I'll send it to you if you want to DM me, and I'll send it to you. And then you just go with it. You just keep going. Yeah. Make a new process, update the assets for new people, go. Makes it so much simpler. And it's 5-6%. 5-6%. Brilliant. You won't get better. You won't get better because it leverages the power of name recognition, rapport, and relevance. Relevance and relevance. These have to be super relevant. They have to see that you've done your homework. These two here. Yeah. The others are all about building rapport. And those two things together are unstoppable when it comes to outreach. But most people don't do this stuff because, it takes a long time. It doesn't take this a long time if you're targeting exactly the same roles and industries. Ops directors in manufacturing businesses, food manufacturing businesses. The problems are going to be the same, similar, very close. Relationship, you're showing up and investing in that so that they recognize your name. They're more familiar. And weirdly on LinkedIn or social media, people will go, I know this Dean said from somewhere, but I can't think why. That's how it works on social media. It's not about, them becoming your number one fan. It's not about you becoming busy mates and going, to the pub at the weekend with each other. It's about just having that edge that gets you an audience, gets you their attention. And, winning and losing, right? And this is, this is really powerful if you get it. The difference between winning and losing often is not massive amounts of things. It's literally fractions of a second. It's tiny things. The difference between winning and losing a client is often marginal things. The difference between getting no response and getting a positive response is not huge. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny gap. And so that edge of rapport and that edge of relevance can get you over a hill that robo pitching and anything else won't. But the most important thing is that you can write a process like this, get really excited about it, get really, really excited about it and go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. If you don't have a way to keep yourself on track, it will all fall over. It will buckle and collapse. As soon as your day goes awry, all of this will collapse unless you have a system, unless you have a process to catch up, that nothing gets forgotten, that it's not heavy duty to follow. So that's why Goggle exists. Yeah. I used to have what's called a social selling tracker. It's a spreadsheet. And I used it, but it wasn't the best way. And people would ask me for other ways of how to do it. And, you know, the big CRMs, the big known names, they're just not cut out for this kind of stuff, because literally, go and engage with content. You navigate 3 pages in the CRM to find out what you've got to do. Then you go to LinkedIn. Then you're going to go back and do all of that. Oh my God, it's too much. That's why we do it. It's not to replace those CRMs, because, you know, they've got all the bells and whistles. But when you're working on LinkedIn or social media, you need something stripped down, nimble and quick. And then, you know, once you've got the deals and you've got the opportunity, you've got the conversation, you've got the meetings in the diary, throw them in your big CRM if you want to. But this is just tactical on the ground on LinkedIn. So most people there's 2 parts to this. Most people on LinkedIn have no process. That's number 1. Most people on LinkedIn don't have a way to manage that process. That's number 2. And then the big one, most people haven't mapped out who they're going after in a group. They pick a diverse audience too broad that they can't actually build the process in a way that works efficiently. And so they're talking to lots of randoms all the time. Their messaging, everything is all over the place, and it becomes impossible to follow through on. And that's what I found. So look, I will send you, if you want me to, I'll send you this little map. I'll send you my canvas. I haven't shown the canvas here tonight, but I can send it to you. And if you want to get into Goggle and have a go with Goggle, it's 99 quid. You can do a free trial. Go on gogglecrm.com. See if I can get to the page. gogglecrm.com. It's 99 quid forever. But you can do a 14-day free trial. You don't need to put your card in. And if you like it, put a workflow in, have a go at it. And then guess what? When you see it's absolutely worth it, you'll pay that 99 quid. Everybody who's, you know, in terms of how many people have signed up, we've had a lot of people sign up, and like something like 95% of people go on to buy it because it's so simple, so easy, and it takes all of the crap and nonsense out of social selling. So get the process. Message me if you want the process. Message me if you want the canvas, and go check out Goggle CRM, because that will save you no end of trouble. I'm going to check to see if there's any more comments. If there's not, I'm going to sign off early and go and relax for the evening. But you need a process. You need a system. The best people, the people who really win, have a process. They know who they're targeting. They have a process to get to reach them, and they have a system to make them consistent. Without them, good luck. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope this has been useful. Again, message me if you want any of the other stuff. I'm going to go and see my family now, and I'll see you on LinkedIn. Thanks for all your support, and see you next time.